Most YouTube videos lose half their audience before the 2-minute mark. The ones that don't all share one thing in common. And it's not better editing, better cameras, or even better topics. It's structure. Here's what nobody tells you when you're starting out. Retention isn't about keeping people entertained. It's about keeping people in a state of unresolved curiosity. The moment someone feels like they've gotten everything they came for, they leave. Your job as a scriptwriter is to make sure that moment never comes until the very last second of your video. I'll show you exactly how to do that. And here's something I'll come back to later that genuinely surprised me when I first learned it. The single highest leverage moment in your entire video isn't the hook. It isn't the ending. It's actually a specific window about 2/3 of the way through. Most creators completely ignore it. We'll get there. First, let's talk about the hook. You have 15 seconds. That's it. Roughly 20% of your audience decides whether to stay or leave in that window, which means the first 30 to 40 words of your script carry more weight than the next 500 combined. The biggest mistake creators make is opening with a greeting or a channel intro. Something like, "Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about." That sentence just cost you a quarter of your audience. Viewers don't care who you are yet. They care whether the next 10 minutes is worth their time. So instead, open with one of 3 things: a bold, specific claim with a number attached, a direct question that creates a gap between what the viewer knows and what they suspect is true, or the most striking moment from later in your video, teased right now. All 3 work for one reason: they make a promise, and the rest of your video is just the process of keeping it. Here's the critical rule: never oversell in the hook. If you promise something the video can't actually deliver, you might win the first 30 seconds and lose everything after. Viewers have a finely tuned radar for bait and switch, and once trust breaks, it doesn't come back. Now let's talk about open loops, and this is where most script advice completely falls apart, because people treat this like a gimmick instead of a structural technique. An open loop is a question you plant that you deliberately don't answer right away. Think of it like a thread you pull. The viewer follows because they need to know where it goes. The trick is layering them. You don't just open one loop at the start and close it at the end. You open one early, close it in the middle, open another, close it near the end, and plant a third one just before the biggest reveal. This is why a well-structured video feels like it's pulling you forward rather than pushing information at you. You're not watching it, you're chasing it.
A practical way to write this: every 2 to 3 minutes, ask yourself, what question is the viewer holding right now? If the answer is nothing, you have a problem. You've let the tension go slack. And when tension goes slack, people check their phone. Which brings us to pattern interrupts. And this is probably the most underused technique in the entire playbook. Here's what happens in the brain during a long, unbroken explanation. It habituates. The same tone, the same rhythm, the same type of content becomes background noise. Your viewer is technically still watching, but they've mentally checked out. You can see this in the analytics. It shows up as a slow, steady drop in the retention graph right through the middle of the video. The fix is a pattern interrupt every 60 to 90 seconds. Change something. Shift from explaining to telling a quick story. Drop in a surprising stat that reframes everything you just said. Ask the viewer a direct question, something like, think about the last video you actually watched all the way through. What made you stay? That moment of self-reflection snaps attention back. You can also do a micro recap, something like, so we've covered the hook and open loops. Now here's the part that most people never figure out. That sentence does 2 things at once. It rewards the viewer for paying attention, and it signals that something better is coming. Both of those things reduce the likelihood they'll leave. Now, remember that thing I mentioned earlier? The most important moment in your video that isn't the hook or the ending? Here it is. The 60 to 70% mark of your video is where retention graphs fall off a cliff for most creators. Viewers have gotten the core value, the curiosity loop has started to feel resolved, and the ending doesn't feel close enough to justify staying. This is the exact moment you need your strongest pattern interrupt and your most unexpected piece of information. If you've been building your script with escalating structure, meaning each point raises the stakes a little more than the last, your best material should be landing right around here, not at the beginning. Most creators front-load their best stuff because they're afraid of losing people early. That's backwards. You need to front-load your best hook, then escalate your best content toward the 2/3 mark and beyond. Think of it like a thriller. The most gripping scene isn't the opening shot, it's the moment right before the climax, when everything that's been building finally starts to pay off. So let's put the full structure together. You open with a hook that makes a specific, honest promise. Within the first minute, you plant your first open loop, a question or tease that won't be answered for several minutes. You deliver real value early enough to prove the video is worth watching. Every 60 to 90 seconds, you shift something: the content type, the rhythm, the perspective.
You layer in 2 more open loops and close each one before you open the next.
You save your strongest, most surprising point for the 2/3 mark or later, and you end on the highest value idea in the entire video. Not a trailing thought, not a weak summary, the thing the viewer will actually remember and repeat to someone else. The close is also where most creators accidentally tank their retention. A long, drawn-out outro that recaps everything you just said tells the YouTube algorithm your video ended 2 minutes ago because that's when viewers started leaving. Keep your close sharp. End on impact, 1 sentence for the CTA. Here's the thing about all of this. The formula isn't magic. It works because it's built around how attention actually functions, not how we wish it worked. Attention isn't given freely, it's earned, and it's earned in 30-second increments by making the next 30 seconds feel necessary. Every single video you've ever watched all the way through kept you in a state of unresolved curiosity until the moment it was finally safe to leave. Now you know how to build that on purpose. If this was useful, subscribe. Every video on this channel is built with the exact same structure we just broke down.